Okay, good evening and welcome to the September 8th, 2020 Norwood Trails Advisory Committee meeting. We do have a full agenda. We have with the holidays, etc. We do have a hardy crew, but a shortened group, a lessened group. So we will provide quality and possibly not quantity tonight. We are utilizing the GoToMeeting remote meeting technology provided by Norwood Community Media and the town of Norwood. Thank you both. All of our meetings are taped and available online, both through the town's website as well as Norwood Community Media's archives. Through means of I guess, roll call, I'll ask members to weigh in and say hi. Kate Smith.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Marguerite Grubb.
Marguerite's here.
Excellent. Marsh Mata.
Here.
Excellent. Sue Bartlett.
Here.
Great. And I am Joe Greeley. We do have a number of members who have called in, said that they would not be able to join us tonight. They're here in spirit. The Norwood Trails Advisory Committee was started roughly 2.5 years ago, and we are an advisory committee advising the Norwood town manager as well as several other folks in both employees and volunteers who work with the town of Norwood. We like to think we've done a lot so far, and we have a lot to go. So feedback is always of value and appreciated. Folks can email us at trails@norwoodma.gov. That's TRAILS at norwoodma.gov. And Norwood MA is one word. Let's see, we do have Vic Babel has joined us, another member. Hello, Vic. Vic and his technical crew are getting installed over there, so we will add him to the attendance roster. Moving right along, so we just took attendance. Thank you all for coming. I apologize, I've got some background noise here. I'm sitting in the green zone in front of the Norwood Theater, so hopefully the noise won't cause too much of a disruption. Does anyone want to weigh in on any recent walks that you might have taken?
Well, I've got one that was not really a walk, but in my neighborhood between Countryside Lane and the Wilson Street playground, there's a little trail, very short, just connects the one neighborhood with the playground itself. And probably last week, someone cleared out an area, well, someone moved a large rock with a chain and then cleared out an area of all of the jewelweed, which is, good stuff for poison ivy, and then proceeded to start dumping tree trunks and branches that had been recently cut right in that area adjacent to the trail, about maybe 10 feet behind the no dumping sign. Whom should I contact in the town to have him, aware of the situation and probably to clean it up? Because as it is now, it's a fire hazard.
Was that Meadow Street?
No, this is the opposite side of town.
Yeah, Meadow Street, the same problem.
Yeah, it looks like a contractor really had done it, because who else is going to have a really big chain to move one of these rocks that's at the entrance to the trail and then proceed to dump some very large tree trunks, probably, 8 inches in diameter and maybe 8 to 10 feet long in this area. It's
I'm
not
sorry,
on the trail.
Which trail?
It's not one of our accepted trails, if you will. It's a town-owned property that has a trail between Countryside Lane and the Wilson Street playground.
Okay.
It's not long enough to make a trail map of, basically. It's probably a couple 100 feet. But it's town property, and
Yeah.
its dumping is prohibited, and I want to know whom I'm supposed to call to say, hey, guys, let's pay attention to this, and let's clear it out before something bad happens.
Yeah. Marguerite,
Is that Mark
that
Ryan?
I would recommend that you start with Mark Ryan.
Okay.
It's not, that area is not conservation land.
Yeah, I didn't
so-
think it was.
Yeah, so I would start with Mark. He might have a different idea or an additional idea on where you could go next.
The little trail is heavily used by families taking their kids to the playground.
Okay. And does it come in from Countryside? I'm not familiar with that.
Comes in from Countryside and goes to
okay.
the Wilson Street playground. There's a ball field, and it comes in at the back of the ball field.
I didn't even know that existed.
It comes in from left field.
It comes in from what?
From left field. From left field, you can cut through
Yeah, it is left
and
field.
up the countryside.
Yep.
Coming in from left field.
Cross a little brook to get there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so if you want to contact Mark, anyone just for general knowledge, anyone in town, it's one of those things. If you see something, say something.
Exactly.
We would definitely much prefer people reach out and stay vigilant. It's just whether it's dumping materials or dumping a car or you name it. If that contractor isn't caught doing it or held responsible and accountable, then he or she is going to just do it somewhere else. So we appreciate it, Marguerite. So if it's difficult to tell, I would recommend anybody in town who runs into a situation like that or has a question, you could certainly get in touch with us, the trails at norwoodma.gov, or you can dial the main town hall number, or Mark Ryan at the DPW would certainly be able to channel things to the right place. We have so many public property holders in town, light department, DPW, rec department, schools. It's not really people's responsibility to know the difference, but we appreciate any feedback that anybody could give us. So, but thanks, Marguerite.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
I went walking along Hennessy, I think it's Hennessy Field, which is it's a trail over behind the train station, and I usually walk it once a week at least. And I noticed quite a few families walking, which was really nice this last week. Lots of families with three or more kids who are young, and some of those kids are maybe 3 or 4, kind of up until they're 10. And something I noticed over the summer is that there's a section of rock up along those trails, and there is some broken glass. And I noticed it at the beginning of the summer, but it wasn't a large amount. And
Always a problem there.
yeah, the broken glass has increased by tenfold. Wow. And then it's now lower down in the trail, in the dirt path where the kids are walking. And it was really interesting. I was just kind of doing a sweep of the trail a couple times, just looking around to see how much glass there was. And as I was coming back, there was a family, and the mother was telling her child not to pick up the glass. So I was just curious about, I know that we've got a number of things on the docket for the weekends coming up, but I was curious if I know Earth Day is usually a time when people go out in the town and clean up certain designated areas. I've participated in the past, and a lot of emphasis is put on the school, cleaning up around the schools. But I was curious if there is a fall cleanup day or anything like that that might be coming up, or we could wait until Earth Day. But if we could get a group of people to clean up some of the trails.
So I think I brought this up last year too, or when we did Impact Norwood did a cleanup day over at Hennessy. It's far beyond pickup over there. If you dig anywhere at all, you are going to dig into deep areas of glass. It really needs to be almost excavated at certain areas.
Got it.
Okay. We tried to pick up, and it was unimaginable how.
Yeah. I can imagine based on what I see.
And that was just I wasn't even up at the rocks where you could see it visually. I was actually right on the trail between trail and trees. So I think, I don't know, Joe, maybe we need to get that looked at again and try to see if that can, if more kids are using it, it's really, really hazardous.
I was there for 20 minutes and there were easily 4 families with a number of kids. And I think it was a weekday. It wasn't even just a weekend. I think it was Friday. So, Friday afternoon.
And say 2 years ago on Earth Day, we did that trail.
Yeah.
And 2 of us, well, not me, but 2 of the crew that we had spent the entire time picking up glass.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they didn't even dent it.
That was me and Doris.
Yes.
Thank you for your service.
It was, but it was really.
Yeah, no, I respect that entirely. I had noticed an increase over the course of the summer. That's all. And so just thinking about ways that if we could even brush it to the side, because it's so great to have the kids out on the trail. So
yeah, if you can rake it up into piles, or at least
ways
signs up. I had suggested signs to be saying, caution.
Yeah, something that might be helpful over there. Yeah.
And just so I'm clear, and I'm sure it's all over. Kay, where did you see it mostly?
Yeah, there's really 1 or 2 rock formations up, I would say, at the top of the trail. So you can get to Hennessy Field from 2 sides. You can get from the side by the ball fields, and then you can get from the side, I think it's Cross Street or East Cross Street. So no matter which end you come in, you come right to the peak in the middle where there are 2 rock formations. And I think young people hang out on them. That's my guess. And so, that's where the broken glass is. It's mostly on the rock. So when the kids are climbing on the rock, which is fun for them, they think it's like a play structure. That's where most of the glass is. It's up in the crevices of the rock and around the rock. It's a little bit on the trail, but it's not bad. I was able to scrape it to the side with my boots, but just thinking about the kids jumping and playing on the rocks, I don't want one of them to trip and then scuff their knee and cut their knee on broken glass. So if we could even sweep it to the side, something like that, I'd be more than happy to be a part of something like that. I was just curious for an Earth Day if we could put it on a list.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, you said anybody do other trails, but I was up New Hampshire and I did some by Mount Monadnock, and those trails are so beautiful up there. It's a natural beauty up there. But then I went to the last couple of days. I've been looking in Dover for this trail that I remember like 40 years ago. I used to use this trail, and it was a most beautiful place to watch a sunset. And so I've been looking for like 2 weeks for it. And I finally found it. It's actually in Hill Reservation. And did I lose everybody?
No, you with us.
Nope.
Okay. And I was so excited to find it again. And I get up there. There was graffiti everywhere. Even the trees, they sprayed purple. It was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. All the rocks were sprayed with different symbols and this and that. And so it's the same type of thing. It's like some people don't have respect.
Can I ask what trail you were doing? Because I've done a couple of the trails over there, I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Nanette?
Noannet.
Noannet. Yeah, so I've
Hill.
done a couple over there recently with some friends.
Yeah.
So I was just curious which trail you were taking.
It's the highest peak there. Let me go into my trails thing. Let's see. But it's they have some beautiful trails there.
Oh, it's a great place to hike.
Yeah.
Is
So we do one of the agenda. Sorry, one of the agenda items we've got. We do have a cleanup day scheduled for September 26th. So Kate, if I can ask, let's just hold that thought and we'll get back to it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Couple of agenda items down. That's we can certainly. The 26th is not set in stone, literally, so to
Yeah.
speak. But we could certainly add Hennessy. Masha's been talking about that for quite a while, and I think we've been there at least 3 or 4 times. So let's circle back to that.
Sounds good.
If we can. Thank you. Sue Bartlett, looks like you're ready to rock and roll with something else here.
All right. Well, we did a walk this weekend over the trail between the Willett and Winter Street, and I didn't know if people wanted to see that area of a walk.
sure.
Joe, do you want to talk about it?
Oh, go ahead. You're it.
Well, I don't know if people can see our screen. So we started at this red dot, which is the Willett, and started down the regular path that everyone knows about. Then we cut into the woods, and there's trails back into the woods where Germany Brook was like very low. The water was some of the riverbeds were dried out, so we could just walk across them. So we were able to walk all the way to the end of Acadia Road in Westover, and then back. And it was pretty good walk, little over 2 mile walk, and a lot of like deep wood stuff. But then, I mean, it was good with the water down. We could pretty much cross over anywhere where Germany Brook was. So a lot of walking between the two. I guess that's it. I don't know what else is it.
So what's that little squiggle at the lower left?
So there's like when you're walking between Willett and Winter Street, there are little openings in the woods on your left. So this one was a little it's almost like a BMX trails inside the woods. You can go in, and kids have cleared it out, and there's some jumps and some bridges and things like that. And then as you go further down, there's another inlet, and you can go into the other inlets, and they lead to other trails and things like that. So this was a beginning inlet, and a smaller one, and then another one that went all the way into Westwood. We could cross over.
Where's Winter Street on this map?
So Winter, if you kept going down the trail, it'd be way over here.
Oh, okay,
We didn't go all the way to Winter, but
okay.
Sue, do you have? Sorry, Sue, do you have that one that's doesn't have the streets, but it has the topography?
yeah, let me get that one. Well, oh yeah, and I have the one with the smaller topography. Yeah.
And so that was Pelissa Peak.
What?
Pelissa Peak
Pelissa
at Hale.
By Hale, yeah. It's a great walk.
Yeah, I've been over to some of those trails. Thank you for letting me know. I'll check out and see if I may have been to the peak. I just wasn't there at sunset.
Yeah, beautiful.
Vic, you started at Hale Reservation, or did you start from the Pelissa Farm side?
Hale Reservation. I stopped anywhere, I went to the main part on, what's that, Walpole Street or Dover Road? I forget.
Dover Road, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Dover Road. There's a main part where you can go, but there's just so many people there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I went further down, and then there was another where there was a dozen cars there. And that's how we came down from the Pelissa Peak, but it's very, very steep and treacherous. So then we went a little further down, probably a half mile down, and there was only one car there. And we parked there, and that's like the back way around, but it's more of a gradual climb, and there's a pond there that you can see, and but it's kind of going around the back way, but the elevation isn't as treacherous. It's very, very steep if you take the second option, but it's beautiful.
You can go in from Carroll Park on the Dover side, and my very first AMC hike was in the Dover Woodlot when Miss Peabody was alive. And
Oh,
Melissa's
Mrs.
farm.
Peabody.
Yeah, Amelia
What?
Peabody.
Yeah, I used to go cross-country skiing there all the time at Miss Peabody's farm.
I went snowshoeing there. But
Yeah,
you can go in from that side,
yes.
and there used to be an old goat shed up there that was very helpful if you were snowshoeing. Anyway, I'm getting off the track, sorry.
But there's a lot of trails, not just Norwood.
I'm going to be the old goat and just kind of reel us back.
Joe?
Yes,
So,
Marjorie?
in part of reeling back, is what Sue was talking about over between, Willett and Winter. Is that something that we could make into or add on to that trail and start to clear it and mark it better and make it more usable and add that to that trail since it's already begun?
Yeah, so what Sue's actually got a better or a different view. I won't say better, but a different view up on the screen. And Masha, I know you're calling in from your phone, but we can get you this photo. It's an aerial map of the route that we took yesterday, and you can see the landfills on the right, the big circular-ish area. So and the Willett School is at the bottom with the red circle. So almost right at the base of the path that goes up to the top of the landfill, if you go to the opposite side directly into the woods towards the brook, that's where we went. So it's roughly just over 2, right, Sue? 2 mile?
2.1.
Yeah. So it's a 2.1 out and back.
Isn't that Westwood, though?
Yeah, I was going to say that once you pass over the brook, you've entered Westwood, and that's all Westwood Conservation land.
Right.
I did part of it towards the very top left. If those of you who are viewing from home, yeah, right up there. That's actually a Dedham Westwood water easement.
Yeah.
There's about less than a quarter of a mile's worth of an easement, but it leads to a pumping station. You can't see the streets. The streets are not labeled, but just under on the map, just under where it says the word back in the top left, that's actually Arcadia Road in Westwood. And Arcadia Road leads directly to Pond Street and Buckmaster.
Mm-hmm.
It adds roughly another quarter to a third of a mile beyond what's mapped here. Will take you out to Buckmaster. So all in all, it's probably maybe a 2.5 or 2 3/4 mile out and back to get you from the Willett School to Buckmaster. You can see Buckmaster in the top left corner where right under the word back there. Yeah, right there. So sorry. So yeah, there's Acadia. Yep. I had approached the Westwood Conservation agent about 1.5 years ago to see if she would be interested, or the Conservation Commission would be interested in joining forces. We didn't. This trip yesterday, as Sue said, it was only possible because the water level is so low that
The drought.
it's a drought, right? And it's really only at this time of the year, the late summer, before the fall, fall rains come, and pretty much all spring and all summer. It's a really beautiful area, but Germany Brook has a lot of different fingers that go through this conservation land. It's definitely wetlands, and it's only really passable now, and I wouldn't even recommend it in the wintertime on like snowshoes or cross-country skis, because in some areas the brook is easily 5 to 8 feet deep,
Yeah.
and it's even deeper with silt.
And Joe, I've done that several times with the boots on, from the winter to the spring and you're right, it's almost totally impassable most of the time.
I think
Joe,
if we could,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
Would you say
ahead,
that
Marcia.
would there be an ability to put a parallel trail to the one between Willett and Winter as just a different leg? In other words, so not going so far deep into Westwood, but almost using, the trails to kind of be windy and to have a different view, a different place to look at, and kind of follow up, the trail that's already there and come back out on the trail. Would that be something we'd be able to add easy?
Well, you can do that. You can do that most time of the year. If you approach where the gate is behind the dump trail, and you go to the left where that gate is and follow it almost to the street, and then you go into the woods on the right, you'll see like an opening on the right. You can follow that, basically parallel to the dump road.
Oh, I was
And,
on the other side, I think. Oh, no, maybe I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, if you go, let's see. So here's the ballpark and all that. If you are heading to the regular trail, and there's a gate, chain there.
Yep.
If you go to the left to the street, this is right, before the ball, right, would it be before? I guess. Yeah, right there. And if you went to the left, almost to that road there, and I don't know if you can see it, but I've gone right by the brook there. I think you see a little bit of a road in there, kind of. Let's see, where's the brook? I can't see the brook with this map, but if you go in a little, you'll see a road, and then I've gone through the woods several times, and there's a trail there. You just can't go to the left too far. You're parallel, and you come out almost where the dump trail goes up.
Okay.
But it's not a bad trail, and the kids have used it plenty of times.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks for investigating it, Sue and Joe.
Got to get out and branch out. That's kind of the name of this, to try to extend the reach, and if it means crossing the borders, obviously we've got to get some level of interest. In this case, from the town of Westwood, but the same is true. We've had really a lot of success with the Walpole Trails Committee, and we'd like to think that we can get the same interest and cooperation from all the other surrounding towns as well. So,
yeah.
But this is definitely, it's limited. It's limited because of the water. We could, in a perfect world and with money, we'd be able to build a couple of bridges across some of these little streams and fingers of the brook. It is really pretty in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a good way to stay off the road for the most part to get to Buckmaster.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how close that was. That's great.
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
Thanks
for that update, guys.
Sure.
And then, of course, as you cross the Winter Street, and you go about a couple hundred yards down, there's that little trail to the left, but you have to cross the brook there, and that will go into the Westwood Conservation land.
Right. Yep.
Which is, I think, joined by at Delapa Drive, but I've tried it a couple times. Right. I can't get through there, but they do have conservation land there.
Yeah, there is conservation land on both sides of Winter Street.
Yeah.
Going up towards Buckmaster, towards Clabbertree.
Mm-hmm.
So there's potential.
But I'd like to see us concentrating on the hockey rink place. I mean, that's we're not doing anything on that, and I think that would be one of the best trails in Norwood. Yeah,
if we can sort of before we get to that, does anybody else have any recent walks or input, feedback?
Joe, I went to Connecticut this weekend. I went to Guilford, Connecticut, and didn't have a specific reason to go there, but I went there and hung out with my dog. And there was several trails there, and I don't know, it was just, they had a lot in that town. There was called Timberland Preserve. There was Chaffinch Island Park, a picnic garden at Indian Cove. They were all like just lots of hikes and picnic places, but very, very nice, very pretty. It was kind of cool to just visit them. It was funny though, there were two parks, and one park, when I went through it, there was lots of trees down and it was messy, and I was like, oh, this is a bummer because it's such a nice area and everything. And then I went to another one, and you could definitely tell it was maintained by a different group because there were trees down, but all the trees had been cut and moved to the sides, and it was just such a different, treatment of the trail for sure. Interesting.
Sure. And those are all the things, we all actually leave town once in a while. We all tend to gravitate towards some open space or recreation area, and those are the kind of things that we're all interested in improving the resources here in Norwood, and we always
getting ideas.
stealing ideas or best practices and bringing them back to town. So the more the better. So, one thing when we get to this ability to adopt a trail, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but I think the more we can get people interested in their own trails in their own neighborhood, I think the more that goes on, the better. I definitely think we missed out this time around without having Norwood Day. I think we missed a real opportunity to continue to spread the word. So, I'm just going to kind of rattle off a couple of things we have on the agenda. We did say that on the this Saturday, September 12th, the Friends of the Blue Hills has a trail maintenance event going on at the Blue Hills. But I have been in touch with this gentleman who runs the program over there, Bob Flagg, and he's available not only that day to help us kind of get our hands, literally get our hands on some tools and take some of the, be able to learn some of the practices that they follow over there and bring them back to town. But he also volunteered. He came to one of our meetings about a year and a half ago, I think now.
Yeah.
But he did volunteer to come back in and help us set up a trail, like specifically set up a trail maintenance and a trail monitoring process as well. So that's a possibility. But it just kind of, did anybody else sign up for that maintenance at the Blue Hill?
I would be interested in signing up for it. I don't know where.
Yeah, I can send the link. It's on the Friends of the Blue Hills site.
Okay.
But I did.
Yeah.
It's what's it?
It's already full.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Because of COVID, they are forced to limit the number of people that go out in these groups.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they do have them on a regular basis, and I think I didn't see the calendar for next month, but they may actually have one scheduled or in the works for October. So it's a good way to go out and practice on somebody else's backyard.
Sounds good.
We did, so that's the 12th. We said September 19th, we're going to give another go. That's a Saturday, a week from this Saturday coming up. We're going to give another go to meeting, parking at the Prescott School and taking a walk on the Meadow Street property. We didn't get specific, but Vic, do you think you'd be available to do that? on the 19th in the
What
afternoon?
time? Yeah, in the afternoon, because they're starting up again the old cemetery restoration on the 19th. But that's 8 to 10:30 or something like that. 8:30 to 10:30.
Okay.
For the
So
afternoon, I'd be able to.
Maybe something like 1:30, 2 o'clock, if we could start then.
Yeah.
If you're available, I'd ask you if you can lead that for us,
Okay.
if you are available.
Mm-hmm.
What we did talk about, we'll post it. We tried to do it anyway in the spring. We did post some details on Facebook. And we had a number of people that were interested. We'll plan on that day and we'll fine tune the timing, but we'll plan to park anybody. The parking is very limited. It's the Meadow Street property is at the end of Meadow Street, appropriately so. There's virtually no parking at the mouth of this conservation area.
Yeah, but Joe,
So-
you can park on the street there. I don't see any problem with going down there and parking myself.
I think that, yeah, I don't either. That would be great for a very limited number of cars.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a whole bunch in the COVID thing and all that. But, rather than having to cross, Neponset Street and walk all the way down there, I would think we could, there's plenty of parking on the street.
All right.
That's my
All right.
opinion.
So, and it's a good one. So, so what we can do, and like I said, we'll post this on Facebook, but we'll try to gauge the parking. We can always have overflow at the Prescott, but if it's not necessary, then that's even better. We probably plan to probably plan to meet at the Meadow Street trailhead, or in that 1:30 to 2 o'clock range.
Mm-hmm.
That would give us a couple of hours of time to walk around in a socially distant, masked environment, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah.
So more to follow. We do not have a meeting between now and then. So, we'll revert to Facebook and try to provide details over Facebook. That's September 19th at 2-ish.
2-ish.
Yeah, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Weather permitting, of course.
Weather permitting. That was the problem in the spring.
That was a brutal storm.
The other thing that we have on the agenda, we had, getting back to Kate's point about possible cleanup at the Hennessy, is on September 26th, the Neponset River Watershed Association is having a Neponset River cleanup. It's kind of a voluntary pick your own spot. They don't provide anything other than possibly some visibility on their website. So that would be totally up to us, and we certainly we're not tied to that date. But I did talk to Paul Halkiotis, and I sent an email over this past weekend to Mark Ryan to see if we could get some resources to help us in an initial cleanup of the Saint Street lot at the end of St. John and St. Paul Avenue.
That'd be perfect.
So if we have enough community interest, we could kind of divide and conquer. We could certainly send a few people over to Hennessy and do, at least try to make it safer for people. It doesn't sound like it's going to be the perfect solution because of the amount of glass. But it would be, I think that's certainly an area that we need to get the neighborhood especially to help out with that monitoring. We can't do it ourselves, and we are certainly open to and welcome neighborhood, whether it's somebody to adopt the trail or just kind of highlight any issues, fallen trees or whatever, or I guess more to follow. But if we can kind of tentatively, are people available on that 26th?
Just FYI,
I believe so, but
and the morning of the 26th is the annual Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day.
Yeah.
From 8 to 11.
Okay.
So you may want to schedule a hike for the afternoon. Also,
Yes.
I think Craig Austin is extremely familiar with that area. I think that's not too far from where he lives. So getting some input from Craig might be useful.
Yep, okay, good point.
So I'm
Um,
not available that day.
Okay,
Not that that matters. I'm just saying I'm not, if I want to, but I'm more than happy to help maybe another time.
okay, all right, good, thank you all. No, like I said, it doesn't have to be that day, but we will try to focus our attention, even if 3 or 4 of us were available that afternoon, to go to Hennessy, that, we could just go up there with a couple of shovels and at least try to cover it over, or make it, like to Kate's point, try to make it safer. We do want those families to get there and have fun doing it, so.
Yeah.
But Joe, is it something that we would be allowed to do and I'm happy to do it, is make a couple of like little signs that can stick in the ground, caution warning signs about the glass? I mean, it's that bad. I
Yeah, I
don't
was
feel like
curious about signage.
like
Yeah.
to put something, literally a little sign that says, please be careful, for the broken glass, or, just, I don't know.
Yeah, we could certainly do that. We could do that. As Kate says, there's 2 main entrances at either end of the property. So we could either put the signage at each end just to give people a heads up, or, we could make it more specific and, right at the top of, as you come up from Murphy Field from that end, as you come to the top of the rise, that might be another good spot to put a sign. I
That's
think
exactly where the lots and lots of glass that's under
some
the
of the glass
ground.
is. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
putting it in that top signs in the top section would be great, because you can walk the main part of the trail and it's fine. But I think as soon as you start to go up an incline towards that little roundabout is where the glass starts. So I think putting up signs there might be helpful if we can't, can't eradicate it obviously, and it'll always come back. Yeah.
Right.
Well, something we could do fairly easily is to put a notice on our trail map for the Hennessy area and just say, caution, broken
Yeah, sure.
glass in this area. And that's a freebie, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. We could do that at Shattuck also, where the rocks are, because it's very similar, nowhere near as bad. But again, when I've been there and I see grandpas up there with their little grandchildren, and I just want to scream and go, careful, careful, don't run all over those rocks. There's loads of glass.
Yeah.
That would be good to do. Nice add-on.
Okay. All right.
I have to do it, but the reality.
So let's, our next meeting is September 22nd. So if we're looking at that weekend of the 26th, then maybe we can, fine tune that. We can certainly put out a community notice that whenever we do, it doesn't sound like that 26th is a good date because there's a lot of competition for other events. But we could try to pick some other day that's later on. But, even if it's just a small community cleanup on the 26th and just target Hennessy, that might be a good thing to do.
I'm available on the 26th. I don't think I said that earlier.
Yep, perfect. Perfect.
Put up some signs in the neighborhood saying, hey, let's clean up Hennessy trail.
Yeah.
Get people involved, because people love to walk now. You see an awful lot of people out walking, and this would be, if it's visible to them, you might get some new recruits.
Yep, sure.
I kind of like the focusing on the Saints lot myself.
Yeah, you know what I think? If we're not going to do a cleanup there, I would love to do a cleanup, but I think it makes sense to do it when maybe either later on in the fall, when the leaves start falling, literally,
Yeah, that's a good point.
or in the springtime when there's not as much ground cover. But that I would like to, I guess I would like to bring our group back in there and talk about potential. Because it would be good if we started off with a community cleanup just to get people more, not only, at the very least, get them more aware of what that property looks like and
Yes, yeah,
the potential that's there. So
yeah, that's a good point. When the
I
leaves
think,
go.
I think that,
Yeah.
yeah, when the leaves go is good, but rather than trying to get community participation first, I think that our group should go through there and check it out and scout the hike, so to speak. So that we can
Identify.
Identify, yes, exactly.
okay, good. So maybe we could put that on the calendar for October or thereabouts.
Yeah, even though.
So why don't we? It sounds even into November. It sounds. Kate and Masha, it sounds like your Hennessy Field project is our target for the 26th. So we can fine tune that. As I said, we do meet on the 22nd, and we can get, the DPW is always available and ready to help. That property is actually managed by the rec department, the DPW, and the schools. They own, all three of those groups own a piece of the rock, literally. There's no conservation involvement there at all. The other thing I think we need to reinforce is we can't do this without the neighborhood's assistance.
Mhm.
And from the standpoint of, getting the neighborhood to reinforce maybe with their own kids and families, etc., and just try to, we could go up there every Tuesday and clean up the glass, but if every Wednesday it's just going to magically reappear, then that's going to be a problem. So we need the community's help there as well. There are a ton of dog walkers in the neighborhood, and we'd love to hear from dog walkers or some of our favorite walkers. So we'd love to have input from everybody up there. So.
Joe, what about, again, using what's already there, which is a sign, just saying Hennessy Field? What about posting something in advance, right there where people are walking, and say, not just on Facebook or things where people aren't but right where they physically are, and say, clean up on this date here in Hennessy. That way,
Yep, no,
they see it in their eyes.
good point.
Polls too.
Yeah, good point. Between now and we'll try to get it done by this weekend, just so people can get a week and a half or so notice.
Joe, you could probably just make a couple of yard signs that can be used for every field for the same reason. In other words, that just say cleanup and a date, where the dates can be interchanged. And you could use that and keep them in our possession for being able to be used at any field or any space that, wants to be cleaned up.
Yeah, good idea. I love it when people volunteer. Thanks, Masha.
I'm all over it.
Yeah, so let's put our marketing department on that, and we'll get right on that.
Okay.
But yeah, so let's plan that for the 26th. Let's see. Just as an aside, I shouldn't say it that way. We do have in town hall, we have a new employee as of last week. Holly Jones has joined the ranks of the town of Norwood employee base. Holly joins the planet, among other things. Holly's title, I know I'm going to mess this up, is Holly is the town conservation agent and environmental planner. That's a long title, but she just joined town hall last week. She is going to be, she's the, as the name implies, she's working with the conservation agent on projects, both compliance and forward-thinking projects that the Conservation Commission gets into, and also in her role in the planning department as an environmental planner. I have tentatively invited Holly to join us at one of the upcoming meetings. So,
good.
She'll be our guest speaker, and we will definitely be working with her. At the very least, she's going to be spearheading the work to be done at the Saint Street lot. So we'll definitely be working closely with Holly. So just as a heads up, and obviously to welcome her not only to the town of Norwood, but also whether she knows it or not, she's now a full-fledged member and contributor to the Trails Advisory Committee effort. So, and that's pretty much all I had, other than to kind of remind everybody our next meeting is September 22nd, and I do apologize again. It's my fault that we didn't get the notices out in time in order. So we'll definitely do a better.
It's my fault, Joe.
We'll definitely do a better job next time. Do we want to go around the table? Like, it's 8 coming up on 8:15. Do we want to go around the table? Do people have anything to contribute briefly for members' minute standpoint?
Joe, did you miss the PTA
Oh yeah, good.
with Kate?
Luckily, we didn't, because you just reminded me. Thanks.
'Cause I was going to offer. I'm definitely was serious in my. I made it as an example of offering something, but I will definitely be willing to go to the Prescott PTA meeting, and just introduce the Trails Committee, and let anyone, I guess you guys, everyone, tell me what we should be telling them and offering.
Yeah,
Definitely
okay.
brochures would be nice to give them, but
Yep. Kate, we couple of us in between meetings, we took your idea, and we would be excited to kind of go with it and run with it, as they say. But I don't know if I guess I'll start before we all jump in headlong at 70 miles an hour. Did you have any further thoughts on that you brought to the table?
Yeah, so I think it's a great idea, and part of my thought process in bringing up Hennessy Field with the glass was just making sure that the trails are safe for when the parents and their students would be out and exploring. So that was just kind of why I was mentioning Hennessy. I've done a lot of the other trails recently, like I did behind the Willet. As you were mentioning, Germany Brook, I didn't go quite as far as I think you all did. But yeah, so just kind of taking a survey of making sure that the trails are in a good condition for young kids and families. And then I think would be great to connect with families and to encourage them to go out before we get into kind of the rainy, really cold months. So I'm definitely in support and happy to go and talk to a few of the PTAs as well.
For those who are going to be going to talk to the PTAs, you should talk to Vic Babel. And who else did it with you? John Apria, I think, Vic, at the library, because you had some good materials there that you could share that might simplify pulling a presentation together.
With Together Yes, you mean?
Yeah, when you did the Together Yes program at the library,
Yeah.
What you did there got a lot of good attention and feedback from people. And if you would share that with Kate and with Marcia, if they're going to go to the PTAs, there would be material they didn't have to develop. And
that would be welcome.
And it got a good reception. So I think that, and save yourselves some work.
Yeah.
We have a lot of material from Shattuck too.
Yep.
Anybody else?
That's all I had.
I think was there also a conversation, we had talked about going to the PTA meetings. Was there any, I think that was in lieu of having PTA folks come to our meeting, right? That was
Right. Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
That was a good point. Yeah. We go to that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I think we would definitely. It's a great avenue for outreach. We have through Marguerite has already got a good relationship with Marie Duffy Kidd, who's very active at the Cleveland. I'm in the midst of a crowd here at the top of the gazebo. I did meet last year with the folks from the Balch, and among other things, as a way to introduce them to the St. Street lot. And I brought with me several maps of the Endine property and the Haas property. And they were really excited to, see what was there and try to incorporate that into some of their fall and spring plans. So I think that would be a great idea. Does anybody, I guess it would make sense for us to come up with almost like a script that we could all use.
Yep.
Maybe maybe between now and our next meeting on the 22nd, we can come up with a game plan, almost like kind of like a marketing package, and basically say these are the 4 bullet points that we want to reintroduce with folks. It's specifically at the PTAs, and then maybe everybody can give some thought to which either 1 or 2 PTA groups that you might want to, that you yourself might want to kind of address and approach. Sounds like, Marsha makes sense. Obviously, if you've got a connection at the Prescott. Marguerite, I don't know if you want to touch base with Marie and see if there's anything there that we could take advantage of.
Well, actually, I've been working with Marie. She's getting putting together another story walk.
Yeah.
And she wants to do it up at the Endine area. I don't know how that's progressing, but probably, I don't know anything about the PTA since eons ago when my parents were members of the board of the PTA.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I would be interested I have a connection with the Oldham. I'd be happy I'd probably do the Willett. I think somebody else had a connection to the Cleveland, but in that kind of general area.
Yeah. Yep. And the good thing about all of these properties, I shouldn't say properties, all the elementary schools are, they're fairly close to some trail.
Mm-hmm.
The Oldham is, a stone's throw from, a couple of them, but even Father Max is not that far from the Oldham, and a good portion of the Oldham population comes from the Tree Streets in the Father Max area. So, I think that's a great idea. So let's do this. Let's try to fine tune that presentation. Marguerite's point is a good one about, Vic, if you,
I still have my notes.
yeah, great. So if there's something there, I'd keep it short and sweet. When I went to the Balch, I did call ahead. I did ask to be added to the agenda. I stayed for most of the meeting. I did not have cookies at the end of the meeting. But, it's a great way for us just to reach another portion of the population, especially to Kate's point about the families being out on the Hennessy, that, we want people to get out there. We want feedback, and we want, it's definitely a two-way street. So,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great.
And I can give people copies of all the activities we did for Shattuck, because those would be great for kids anywhere.
Well, that'd be terrific.
It would be great. Yep.
And I had a couple things. Can I bring a weed whacker down to Meadow Street? Would that be frowned upon, a battery-powered weed whacker? Or is that a no-no?
We do,
I can't hide it.
let's do this. Let's touch base with Holly Jones. We did have, under Al Getz, we did have permission to kind of an undefined degree. We did have permission to do some amount of maintenance, although that wasn't clearly defined.
Joe.
Um,
Okay, yeah, we
Oh,
lost you
Joe's
there.
back.
I'm trying to mute the family that's running around here. But let's touch base with with Holly first and try to get a good definition of what we can and cannot do.
And
Nate?
number two, is there any way we can bring the now I see everything about the Boston Skating Club. Any way we can bring that a little bit forward in our plans?
Yep. So what I would like to do with Holly, with Holly's involvement and knowledge, I guess, is to go basically take a walk through that property with her, since the property, the Norwood Conservation property, is right adjoining the skating club property. I would like to get those wheels turning with her. I think it would be really good if we could, on our own, kind of sketch out a possible design of that property, just to throw out some ideas. That's definitely an area that, if we're going to do it, we would have to do it right, and have a landscape designer, landscape architect come on and lay out a park basically in that area. But I think that's a great idea. The skating club, as everybody knows, I think the skating club is actually open for business. They have their first event. I think it's on the 22nd of September. So that's great news, and we'd certainly welcome them to town, and we'd certainly welcome the chance. I think, as was originally discussed, we would welcome the opportunity to work with them on some trails in that area.
Good.
Vic, just getting back to your first point, we can maybe you and I and Holly can touch base on the phone sometime.
I'd love to.
If you bring up the idea of Meadow Street, then I'm thinking that if you're asking the question, then you might be more aware of the conditions there than anybody else. And if you're asking that question, then maybe there's something we need to do before we take a walk on that property, before we go out on the 19th.
I'll check it out this week again, but I haven't been down there for a while.
Okay. All right.
But I know, Joe, that and everybody, it would be very simple to create a loop in that trail, but it would be a little bit of hacking and sawing, and it's not trees, it's just bushes. That it wouldn't take much to connect it for a great loop.
You're referring to Meadow? Or
Meadow, Meadow.
Okay. Yeah, that obviously, that's a it's a beautiful, pristine area right along the Neponset. It is conservation area, obviously, so we gotta, we can only recommend in that area, but we'll certainly, it's taken a while. We've made a lot of progress. Rome wasn't built in a day. Sometime we will actually be in a condition that Guilford, Connecticut has already reached. So we'll just have to kind of, tackle things one at a time. Long term, I think we're all excited about the University Ave. I think that's the real kind of nugget that long term we'd all love to see something, and especially since we have commitment for cooperation with the skating club. So that would be great.
Would there ever be any interest in the trustees of the reservation taking over that property? Taking over which property? The conservation land, the whole right by the skating rink. I mean, if they do it and we don't have to do it, that'd be even better.
Yeah, good point.
And the land just is fallow,
Right. I have spoken to the trustees a couple of times. Specifically, I was talking to them about their property over just across the river at Signal Hill, on the other side of University Ave, and they're really excited at the chance for people to donate significant amounts of money or significant amounts of land, but they themselves don't have the wherewithal to go buy property at this point.
Oh, I thought they were pretty well endowed.
We can certainly label it as the Babel land. I don't know. We'll come up with a snappy name if you want to if you want to dive into that petty cash and buy something for us.
Fables,
Okay.
fables.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
What happened with
Thank
Bird
you.
Park was that they needed an endowment for the upkeep of the property. And the McMansions there off of Mylod Street, in what was the Bird property, provided the amount of money they needed to open up, to take over Bird Park and maintain it. So, unless you got room for 500 houses someplace,
Yeah.
it's slim to none chance.
Yeah, well, we can always hope.
Times
We
change.
don't,
Yeah.
we don't have to, you know, it hasn't happened, and it's probably pretty far down the road, you know, as it were. But you know, we don't have to own the land if we could get cooperation and a commitment for access from a private party. You know, the skating club is a perfect example that
Yeah.
there's an 8 to 10 mile loop there somewhere, not all of which is town property. And I think you know, that's how things like this are put together. It's one piece at a time. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the more of these relationships we can build, it's a two-way street, obviously, too. But the more of these relationships we can build, the better. So, Kate, do you have any member minutes, last final word, things that wouldn't it be great if, or anything like that?
No, I think we tackled it with Hennessy. I think that it'll be great to do that cleanup, and then I'm excited to talk to the PTAs and you know, get some folks out on the trails before we hit November, kind of Thanksgiving. People start to get cold out there, thinking about winter activities. So, yeah, I think we hit it.
Great, thank you. Thanks. Subale?
No, I think we covered mostly everything.
Good, thank you.
It's funny seeing you not walking while we're having a meeting.
I got home too late.
Maybe
Yeah.
next time. Marguerite Krupp?
I think we've covered all the territory I had.
Okay, good. Thanks for coming. Vic Babel?
I thought
We
I
already
just
hit-
did it.
Marcia Mata?
I'm good.
I think Lee Leach is with us. Are you with us, Lee?
Yeah, I am. Hi, Joe. Hi, rest of the guys.
Oh, the
Glad to
mystery
join you
man.
all. I'll be very brief because I see it's 8:30 and our time is nearly up. But I just wanted to remind the general public that we do answer emails that are addressed to for information purposes to the committee, and they're just a minute. The email address is at, what is it, Joe?
Norwood. I'm sorry, Trails. That's the second time I did that.
Right.
Trails at Norwood.
Trails.
Yep. Go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah. It's trails at norwoodma or norwoodma.gov. And that will get to either Joe or myself, and we do answer those reasonably in a timely manner. We recently had a request for information on one of our trails, and just sort of the status of it. And we just want to direct the general public to our website that does have quite a bit of information on it regarding activities and trail maps. So if you do if the general public is interested, search on the town website to the Trails Committee page, and under that you'll see Norwood Trails and map information or trail activities, and there are a couple ways you can get to that information. And that's my half a minute. Thank you.
Okay, good. Communication is good. Feedback, we thrive on feedback. So, so I think I've hit everybody but myself. The The only thing I wanted to put in there is we've now been contacted by 3 different Boy Scouts who are working on their Eagle badges, their Eagle Award. The first Scout has completed his work on the Sumner Street, the Peswick Park trail. And I did speak to Holly Jones today, actually, about the work that Adam Gorin has completed there. Sue Bartlett assisted him on one of his work party days. So thank you, Sue. So Adam's pretty much done. He's going to write a letter in summary to the committee, to the Conservation Commission. The next Scout who has approached me is going to meet with the Conservation Commission on the 16th of September. Ryan Larson has volunteered to build, fundraise and build and install either 2 or 3 kiosks at the Endine property. So he's excited to build those. He was active with Adams Farm when they built a couple of their kiosks about a year ago. So he's basically borrowing their design. He and I have looked at the design, and it does look really good. And so we're going to incorporate that, and he's volunteered. He's going to coordinate that with the Conservation Commission. And
Joe,
yep, yes,
can I
ma'am.
interrupt 1 second?
Yep.
Because that was one of the things on the agenda I just noticed that we hadn't hit, so that kind of hits the discussion of the kiosk. So it sounds like the Boy Scouts is going to be a key player in this.
Yep, he is. And as long as, as long as we can put these up fairly easily, and, we're excited to use these first couple as kind of a beta test to make sure that they allow us to put the right information in there, and they're large enough. These 2 will probably not be, they probably won't be trailhead size, but they'll be kind of a single panel kiosk. But I think they'll definitely fit the bill in the areas that he and I have discussed as far as where he wants to put them. The third, I know I'm going to really not do justice to his name, but I was actually contacted this week. This is another Scout. His name is Makana Umbe Gulev, and he's excited to. He and I are trying to come up with some ideas. He lives in the Father Max Manhattan Street area, and so for that reason, I'd like to steer him towards doing an outdoor project with us and for us, I guess, probably in the Father Max or the Savage Center area. But he's also had involvement in kiosk building, trail marking, laying out trails, etc. So all 3 of these, all 3 of these Scouts have come from Troop 49, which is the St. Catherine's troop. But it doesn't matter where people are coming from, but we'd love to have more community involvement and bring it on. Love to have it. So, if no one else has anything else, I think just a reminder:
for adjourn.
September 22nd at 7 p.m. is our next meeting.
Second.
So we've got a Marguerite motion and a second by Vic. All those in
Yes.
favor? All those opposed? It sounds like it's unanimous. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Norwood. Thank you, Norwood Community Media. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.